Mitzvat Bikurim differs from almost all the mitzvot aseh in the Torah in that it involves both an act, the bringing of the Bikurim, along with a declaration. This declaration is part and parcel of the mitzvah, so much so that there are opinions that maintain that the declaration must be recited verbatim and in Lashon HaKodesh. The lack thereof would impact upon the validity of the mitzvah. This, in contrast to other mitzvot, the requirement to recite a bracha, the addition of various pasukim relating to the performance of the mitzvah are not obligatory, and hence, without the verbal component, the mitzvah remains a mitzvah. The key point of the declaration is the fact that the individual has finally settled in Eretz Israel, the land has been conquered, the nation has the freedom to return to normalcy, they can plant their fields and provide food for their families, and as an expression of thankfulness and gratitude, the Bikurim are offered as a korban of sorts to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has facilitated this abundance. This declaration, though, comes with a preamble, which, according to Rashi at least, makes mention of two distinct time periods that were the antithesis to the situation of the individual bringing the Bikurim. One was a situation involving Lavan, the other involving Mitzrayim. Most of the Parshanim disagree with Rashi, and we shall be looking at their interpretation shortly. However we interpret the content of the preamble, the fact that it is part and parcel of Mitzvot Bikurim mandates that we link the preamble to the mitzvah. First, though, we will look at Rashi's reading of Devarim 26:5. We will then look at other options, ending with a reference to footnote number 3, in which the Rebbe attempts to justify Rashi's rejection of the other Parshanim. The key distinction between Rashi and the other Parshanim lies in the way they each interpret the three words ARAMI, OVED, AVI. According to Rashi, the subject is ARAMI. The verb, strangely enough, in the present tense is OVED, and the object is AVI. Throughout the entire Chumash, the term ARAMI is to be found a mere 4 times, all in Sefer Bereshit, and all connected to Lavan. Hence, Rashi links the subject ARAMI to Lavan. The first is Bereshit 25, where we are told that Yitzchak, at the age of 40 years, takes or marries Rivka. The pasuk identifies Rivka as the Bat Betuel HaArami, the daughter of Betuel, a resident of Padam Aram. The pasuk also adds a second identifier, which on the surface at least it appears to be somewhat superfluous, that she was the Achot Lavan HaArami, the sister of Lavan. The other 3 references linking Arami to Lavan deal with, firstly, Yaakov's marriage to Lavan's 2 daughters, Rivka and Leah, and in Bereshit 31 we have the pursuit by Lavan, along with an army of townspeople, of Yaakov and his entourage. The night before his confrontation with Yaakov, Lavan receives a communication from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayava Elokim el Lavan ha'arami. In that vision he is told, Hishamel lecha pen Tedaber in Yaakov. You are forewarned against speaking with Yaakov mitov ad ra, either promises to do good, which, given the history of Lavan's dealing with Yaakov, would be empty promises, or with words that would threaten his welfare. It is to this meeting between Lavan and Yaakov that Rashi applies the statement Arami Oved Avi. Oved Aleph Bet Dalad, to destroy, to lay waste, to ruin. That the Arami, a reference to Lavan, intended to destroy Avi, my ancestor, in this case referring specifically to Yaakov. And hence, when the Bikurim are brought and the individual must make a declaration, that declaration, beginning with the words Arami Oved Avi, is an acknowledgement of God's intervention in rescuing the individual's ancestors from a threat of annihilation, firstly from the hands of Lavan, who threatened annihilation to Yaakov and his family, and then once again, many generations later, God's intervention in rescuing the Bnei Israel from the hands of Paro and Mitzrayim, which then allowed the nation to move on to Eretz Israel, settle in the land, and hence offer their Bikurim. In the words of Rashi, Mazgir Chastei Hamakom, the person bringing the Bikurim mentions the acts of Chesed on the part of Hamakom HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The first, ARAMI OVED AVI, is a reference to Lavan, who bikish la'akor et hakol, to annihilate everyone, kisheradaf acha Yaakov, when he pursued after Yaakov. V'od acherim, there were other situations in which there was a chesed from God. When ba'u aleinu lechalotenu, when others rose up against us with the intent to annihilate us, such as she'achri zot, after the incident of Lavan, Yarad Yaakov leMitzrayim. Yaakov emigrated to Egypt, and once again, the family came under the threat of annihilation at the hands of Paro and the Egyptians. One cannot help but notice the tonal threads between Rashi's commentary to ARAMI OVED AVI to that of the Baal HaHaggadah, and in particular Vehi Sha'amda.